Why am I here? What is my purpose in life? It seems that those three questions have been asked by humans since, humans have logically been able to ask themselves those questions. And those questions, they span race and culture, religion, geography. And amazingly, I don't ever think they'll truly ever be answered. And the reason why I say that they'll never truly be answered is because those questions will always have different answers for the different people who ask them. Now, some people live a fortunate life and they can go through their childhood and adolescence to young adulthood, with the freedom to explore and express themselves and to slowly grow and to mature, and at some point to become self-aware of who they are or what they are and what they want to do. But in a way, I kind of feel sorry for those people because they often miss out on something inspiring. And what that inspiring thing is a defining moment. Now, that's not to say that they won't have one, but there's something about having a defining moment as a child that helps you to live your life a certain way, to do things a certain way that maybe you wouldn't do if you hadn't had that experience. And as a child, I did have a defining moment. The amazing thing is that it answered those three simple questions. Who am I? Why am I here? And what is my purpose in life? Now, my grandmother and my grandfather, and I don't mean to bore you with a history lesson or anything, but they're Korean. And in early June of 1950, they decided to go on vacation and visit my aunt, their oldest daughter, who happened to be living in South Korea at the time. Now, a few weeks later, on June 25th of 1950, the Korean War began. The only things they took with them were some clothes and pictures, and that's about it, the keys to their house. Now, that story was told to me by my uncle one summer. I think I was around 9 years old, but I don't think he ever really realized how big of an impact that it had on me. In fact, earlier that school year, I had did a project for history, and we had a few different topics we could choose, and I chose the Korean War. And part of that project, I was talking about how the Korean War, it separated and destroyed families. But I never knew that my family was one of those families. Only a few weeks made the difference between life and death for some of them. More importantly, my existence. And while I was really amazed by that fact when he told me that story, I asked a question that to this day when I think about it, it still kind of breaks my heart. And I asked him, do you have any other family? What about the rest of your family? And he told me. My grandmother is 97 years old today. And since June of 1950, she has had no contact with her sisters or brothers, nieces or nephews, parents, aunts, uncles, nobody. Sadly, a few years after the war began, after my mom and my aunt were born, my grandfather passed away too. So she doesn't even have her husband. And I have a grandfather that I've never met. And I have a family that I will never know. And that fact defined how I would live my life, how I live my life today. Family first. Always. It's why I'm here. It's who I am. And it's my purpose.
Hey guys, I've been accepted into the C3 tournament, and all I can say about that is celebration time! Sorry, I don't know where that came from. Hopefully I can contain myself for the rest of the commentary, but I'm just so goddamn excited about the C3 tournament, and yeah, let's get on with the commentary. So the topic given to us by a serial assassin is a defining moment from your childhood, and I am not gonna lie, when I saw this topic, my heart sank. I fell into my chair. I could not think of a goddamn thing. I was terrified. What am I going to do? I have no idea. And I just kept worrying. And then I had to wait for inspiration to find me, because what I've learned is you can't just make a video. You can't force yourself to come up with an idea. You have to wait for that idea to find you. And while I was thinking about this, all these thoughts were racing through my head, you know. What is it that I have done that has defined my life? And I really can't think of anything. I really couldn't think of anything, because I personally haven't done anything. What I have done is a lot of stupid stuff with my friends. That's basically where I'm going to go with this. Every good moment that I have found in my life so far has been basically moments where me and my friends are just kind of sitting around or messing or having a good time. And honestly, this is like, I have my friends to thank for this. There's nothing I have done on my own that has defined my childhood. Because without friends, you didn't really have a childhood unless you were like a super big gamer, which I was too, and then my friends saved me from that and introduced me to a social life. There were a lot of dumb moments I did with my friends. One comes to mind is the time that my friend told me the bathroom was flooding, so I ran in and said, "Oh crap." Then I turn around and the principal's there, which is always a very terrifying moment, especially when he thinks it was you and you nearly got expelled. Or was it that time that your entire year went on a school trip down to the Burn, which is a place in Ireland, and then what happens is a guy grabs you from behind, so you push back so you're not choking to death, and then he rams into a door, the door breaks, and you nearly get expelled. Again. Or was it that time in school when you were doing a Harlem Shake and you thought it was a good idea to wear a skirt, and you came across the principal, and you nearly got expelled? Again. Apart from them all being really bad times in my childhood, which were also pretty damn hilarious times now that I look back on them, all those moments were all done with my friends, because without my friends, my childhood would have been pretty damn boring. For example, when you go to the shopping centre and you decide you're all going to play hide and seek and run around the shopping centre because you're cool like that. What? So basically just remember that in your childhood, while there are lots of good memories you have to remember that not many of them, maybe a few are, but not many of them are by yourself. Most of those memories you have that you look back when you're old, you're going to look back on these memories and you're going to realize that every single good moment that you've had is going to have to include one of your friends, because your friends encourage you to do things. Without your friends, you would do nothing. Without friends, you wouldn't go anywhere. You wouldn't have any amazing memories. That's why these friends have made my life. They have defined my life. They have made me who I am. The whole point of this commentary is basically that I personally have done nothing, that not one moment has defined my childhood that I have done. It is all thanks to my friends. And if you think about it, every single good moment you guys have is probably including at least one friend. So all I want to say is, guys, when you go out and have good moments, what are you doing? But more importantly, when you're going out and having good moments, who are you having those good moments with? I've been Adventure Starts Now, and thank you for listening. I'm out. Bye!